This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It is so great to be here with you, helping you with playing the guitar. It's a Theory Thursday. I love music theory, as you know. So delighted to bring these Theory Thursday lessons to you, help you understand the fretboard better, help you understand music in general better. In this Theory Thursday lesson, we're looking at ninth chords. So we've looked at triads, three-note chords, which then expand really to create our different voicings. We've looked at creating major and minor voicings before on these Theory Thursday lessons. So we can take those three notes, some are doubled, and we get more than three notes in the chord, but those triadic chords, or those three-note based chords, are sort of the foundation of most of the chords that we play. We've looked at seventh chords, how we can add sevenths to that. We've looked at sixth chords and how we can add the sixth to those various triads as well, or those three-note chords. And in the last lesson, we looked at altered fifths being added to some of those chords with sevenths in there. Lots of great things. Now we're looking at the upper extensions, ninths, 11ths, and 13ths. In this Theory Thursday lesson, we'll go through the ninths. In the next Theory Thursday lesson, so a week from today, there will be a lesson on 11ths and 13ths. So let's go ahead and take a look here at how we have the ninth in the chords. So first of all, the ninth is the same step as the major second that is above the root, only it's one octave higher. So for example, in C, I go up to D, that's a major second interval, and we've got those Theory Thursday lessons that have gone over intervals. So you need help with that, just check out those lessons. But C to D, an octave higher would be that D that is up one octave, and that is known as the ninth. Now, I have it down here on the bottom of the board, but we can technically add the major ninth. It's the most common one to add to the different types of chords that we've talked about previously. We could also add a flat nine, which is a minor second up one octave, or a minor ninth interval. Or we could do a sharp nine, which is actually an augmented ninth. It's the same enharmonic sound as the minor third up an octave. So we get that augmented ninth, or that sharp nine. We can have that natural nine, or we can have that flat nine. Now, by and large, the most common one that we end up adding to a chord is the major ninth above that root. So that's the most common one, but we have some great times, or options, or we have some great times when we like to throw in those altered ninths, and I'm going to talk about it. Especially happens with dominant seventh chords and creating what we call an altered dominant chord. But let's go ahead here and take a look at the different types of ninth chords that are most common, so the ones that we run into the very, very most on guitar. Up here at the top, we have what we call add9 chords. Sometimes we'll play voicings where simply the ninth has been added to a triad, no seventh or sixth. So these are known as add9 chords because we're simply adding that ninth to a major, a minor, or a suspended. Those are the most common ones to do triad. We don't really see them with the augmented or diminished triads, for example, or a major with a flatted fifth or a minor with a sharp five. We don't see it with any of those three-note chords, but the ones that we do see somewhat frequently are major, minor, and suspended. Of all of these, the most common one, of course, is adding it to a major chord. So I didn't write up here, but we know that the major chord has the root, third, and fifth. So in the key of C, C, E, and G, and then we add that D on top of it, and we get a nice major add9. If it was minor, we'd flat that third note. If E flat, G, and then I could have that D on top. Or if it was suspended, I would have my F, G, and D. So that's a sus with the ninth added. On the chord symbol front, with the major chords, we'll see that root and then the word add9 after it. It can be in parentheses. So that's a C add9 that I'm playing right there. With the minor ones, you would have something telling us it's minor, a lowercase m or a minus sign, and then the add9 is oftentimes written in parentheses. So there's a C minor add9. We run into those are possible. We probably don't see them quite as often as the major ones because that ninth against that flatted third creates a tension, but we can have those minor add9 chords. And then we got the suspended with the add9. Sometimes you will see add2 as well with those ones. Sometimes it's just talking about having that fourth and that two in there, but no third. But with that one, Again, and it could be written add9. So with all three of these types, it's very important that the chord symbol contain the word add. The ninth is simply being added to the triadic component at the foundation of it. So a major triad, a minor triad, or a suspended triad. So those 3-note chords. And when I say triad, I'm really loosely using it as a 3-note thing. So with a suspended chord, it's not stacked in thirds, but with the major and minor triads, they are. So that's a little bit of a theory, like technicality there. If you get into technical, classical theory, it came known as triads because they are spaced in those intervals of threes. So that interval relationship is important, but we have lots of 3-note chords that are foundational to the music we play. And so 3-note chords, triads, I'm using that sort of as a synonym a little bit in this course because it makes sense for the contemporary music that we play on guitar. So C add9, C minor add9, C sus add9. Those are important to recognize. No 7th, no 6th. Just the triad notes, which can be doubled. The root, the third, the fifth, the root, the fourth, the fifth, the root, the flatted third, the fifth. Those notes can be doubled, and then we add in that ninth, which could also be doubled, but there's no 7th and there's no 6th. Okay, so then we go on to the major and minor 6/9 chords. So we can have a major 6 chord or a minor 6 chord that we then add the 9 to. And with, see these, we've got the root, then the major third or the flatted third, either way. 5th, 6th, and the 9th. So for the key of C, C, E, G, A, and D gives me that major 6/9. Now as I start to do these ones, I can't keep them in root position where everything is stacked 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, but I can get all those notes in there. As we continue through all of these, except for the ones with an altered 5th, the 5th is sometimes omitted, and we'll play 4-note chords that don't have the 5th in there because we can't fit them all in. So sometimes when we start adding the 9th, we gotta omit the 5th. In the overtones series, when we have a perfect 5th, that interval of a perfect 5th, it's sort of felt or heard even if we don't play it, just because of how the overtone series works, which is kind of cool. So we can play them without the 5th. The 5th can be omitted with all of these unless it's an altered 5th, meaning a sharp 5 or a flat 5. So we have that major 6/9 sound, and then of course the minor 6/9 sound as well. And on that one I'm omitting the 5th because my pinky can't quite get it there on top very well. Sometimes that 5th actually takes the richness out of these chords. So with this one, when it's major, we're going to see the root and then 6/9 thrown on there for that chord symbol, just like so. If it's minor, we're going to have that root, something telling us it's minor, lowercase m or a minus sign, and then that 6/9 thrown on there at the end, as simple as that. Okay, so then we get these ones. We learned about 7th chords. We have a major 7th chord, meaning a major 7th chord. We have a dominant 7th chord, meaning a major minor 7th chord. Then we have a major or a minor major 7th chord and a minor 7th chord, or the minor 7th chord. So we have these 4 7th chords that have a natural 5th. We know that we can throw on a major 7th or a minor 7th to any of the 2 triads, the major and minor triad. So when we throw the 9 on, we're just taking our major 7th chord, our minor 7th chord, our minor major 7th chord, or our dominant 7th chord, and we're adding that 9th on. And in the chord symbol, the 9 will simply replace the 7 for simplicity. When we see that, we know that the 9 is telling us, oh, we also have the 7. And then, of course, we could have the 5th, but we can omit it, and then we have the 3rd. So with a major 7th chord, with the 9th on, this is known as a major 9 chord. This is a major 7th chord, meaning a major chord with a major 7th that has the 9th, the major 9th thrown onto it. We could have a flat 9 or a sharp 9, super uncommon. Most of the time with major chords, major 7th chords, we have the natural 9. So root, 3, 5, which can be omitted, 7, and 9. A couple voicings here, so here's a C major 9, here's a C major 9 as well. I'll try and get that 5th in there. So that chord symbol is going to have the root, something in front of that 9 telling us it's the major 7th chord. So the triangle, M-A-J, M-A, the uppercase M there, in front of that 9. Then the 9 tells us, oh, we're adding the 9 on to a major 7th chord. So I've got that variety. The dominant 7th chord then has that flatted 7th. Same kind of thing. With this one, we're going to have the root and just the 9 thrown on. Just as simple as that. We don't have anything in front of us telling us it's the major 7th. This time, it's the minor 7th thrown onto that major chord. So our dominant 7th chord. And we would have the root, 3, 5, flat 7, and 9. And of course, you can have the 5th, or it can be omitted. I've included it without it there, and then here I can throw it on top. I can do it up here as well. Make sure I'm fingering that right. So there's a dominant 9th chord. Pretty cool. Altered dominant chords. With altered dominant chords, we've learned about these. We're going to have an altered 5th. Now, we can have actually an altered dominant chord that has a natural 5 but has a flat 9 or a sharp 9 thrown on it. Or we can have the combinations with a sharp 5 or flat 5 interchanged, connected, put together with sharp 9 or flat 9. So we get lots of different types. So we can have just, and what you're going to see with these, with the altered 9, is you're going to see the root and then this 7 thrown on there to tell us this is dominant 7th chord. And then after that, we're going to see things that tell us it's an altered chord. So we can have just flat 9 written. We can have just sharp 9 written. Now the sharp 9 can be a little bit deceptive. Sometimes when people write this chord symbol with the sharp 9, they mean I want an altered 5th as well. Sometimes they just want the sharp 9, so it becomes a game of what sounds best in this particular song when we run into these chord symbols. These chords are also a little bit interchangeable for each other, so when we start getting these extra colors thrown on, sometimes when a chord symbol is written, we can interchange other voicings that also have altered 5ths or altered 9ths, different from the specific voicing that's written. The more we get into these kind of colors, the more it becomes a game of sort of chords just being a suggestion to an extent, the chord symbols, and then using our ear to sort of just play with colors in the moment. That we especially do that in jazz. And so these are the kinds of sounds that we use mostly in jazz, though they do appear sometimes in other places. So with that, sometimes you'll just see the root, the 7, and alt written, meaning it's altered, and you choose the alterations: sharp 9, flat 9, sharp 5, flat 5, and what kind of combinations you want to do. There's 4 combinations we can have with this. We can have a sharp 5 against a sharp 9. We can have a flat 5 against a flat 9. You can have the sharp 5 against the flat 9, or you can have the flat 5 against the sharp 9. So you get a lot of different options here. We have the root, the 3rd, and then the various options with the 5th there, the flatted 7th, and the various options with the 9th. If it's a natural 5, it's omittable. If it's not, if it's an altered 5th that we want in the voicing, we have to have it. So, just to kind of go through these, with that flatted 9, just a flat 9. Now I have the 5th omitted. If I throw it in on top, you'd have it as well. But so right now I've got the root, the 3, the flat 7, then the flat 9, and I put the 5th on top. Or I can just do it with the flat 9 and not have that 5 on there at all. Or I could do the sharp 9 version. If I've got fingers, I probably can't get the 5th in there very well with this particular voicing. But here's a sharp 9 without the 5th in it. If I try and get that natural 5, I can get it in there a little bit, almost. It's tricky. So that's the sharp 9 with a natural 5 there. Now, the C7 where you have the sharp 9, sharp 5. That's what that sounds like. Or you could have the flat 5 and the flat 9. Or you could have the flat 9 and the sharp 5. And you could have the flat 5 against the sharp 9. Now, I'm not going over how to play these types of voicings here in this lesson so much as giving you what they sound like. Right now in the jazz course is running 2-3 times a week. There's new lessons coming out. The jazz course gives you some great voicings, helps you learn to play those. Because I'm covering that there right now, I'm not really worried about doing voicings here. There's also quick answer videos that have some help with playing different voicings that fall into these categories. But the jazz course especially has different options. We'll continue to have lots of different chords come out. The lessons that are coming out right now or have been coming out recently, gives some great options for playing these types of chords on the guitar, and there will be more. I'll also mention that the new edition of my theory and technique book, which I'm working hard on bringing out. The first edition is out of print, but the second edition will come out soon and be available soon. It's just I've expanded it so much, and it has all the different ways that you could approach. For the most part, I will say there's always another way out there, but all the different ways that are commonly approached are used as a common approach for creating these types of voicings and any of the types of chords that we have gone over in these Theory Thursday lessons. So great places to get help there with how to actually create them. At some point in the Theory Thursday lessons, I'll probably get into it as well. But with those types of things coming out in the practical, useful sense of playing them or using them in a jazz context, I'm just leaving it in the jazz course that's happening right now and not really going over those things here. Here we're worried about the theory and just kind of understanding how it all works, which is super important and supplements what's happening in the jazz course in that way. So if you want help with the voicings, check out those jazz course lessons that teach you how to play the different types of 7th chords and 9th chords, 13th chords, 11th chords, triads, even a little bit, that we don't do that in the jazz course. We've got those in a lot of the other courses where we're learning how to play folk and pop and country, flat picking, finger picking, those types of things. Okay, so altered dominant chords. There we go. We also can throw that 9th on with minor, major, 7th chords really well. These have the root, the flatted 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, and then that 9th. So our minor, major, 7th chords, root, flatted 3rd, 5th, and then the natural 7th, and we can throw the 9th on top of that. Now I can't get the 5th in there very comfortably trying to do that, but I can do it without the 5th there, and then up higher I can voice one with the 5th and put the 9th on top. So really kind of an interesting sound, that minor, major, 7th with that 9th on it. Now of course this one, we're going to see that root, lowercase m, uppercase M, and then the number 9, telling this is a minor, major, 7th chord that has that 9th on there, or like a minus sign in a triangle, and then that 9 again replacing that 7th. So there we have that minor, major, 7th chord with the 9th. Really cool. Minor 9th chords are awesome. The root, the flatted 3rd, the 5th, the flatted 7th, and the 9th. So 1, C, E flat, G, B flat, and then D. I can throw that 5th on top or omit it for that minor 9. Such a cool sounding chord that we can use a lot. And then up top. Over here you might see the root, a minus sign telling us it's minor, and then the 9 replacing where the 7th would normally be if it was just the 7th chord, and we've got that 9 there, or lowercase m telling us it's a minor chord, and then that 9 thrown on there. So those are the minor 9th type. Suspended chords. When we talked about the different types of suspended chords, we can throw a sus or a 9th onto it, the 6th sus, so 6-9 sus in this case. We can have it with that dominant 7th, throw that 9 on there, have a 9 sus, or that major 7 sound against the sus, and we have that little triangle or capital M in front of it to tell us it's major. So in this case, we have the root, the 4, and the 5 because it's suspended, and then we're going to have the 6th, or the flatted 7th, or the major 7th, and I left the 5th off there as I was demonstrating that, and then the 9th above it. So with our 6-9 sus, and I have to leave the 5th off here because we don't have enough fingers to do it, but there's the 6 with that 9 thrown on the 6-9 sus. And then we can have the dominant 7th with that, so the dominant 9 sus. And then here's one with the major 7th, so major 9 sus. Pretty cool sounds. We can have any of those. The half diminished, or the minor 7 flat 5, is one where we come up. This one doesn't have the 9th very often, but sometimes people will voice it with either a natural 9 or a flat 9. There's different scale modes that these chords overlap with. We've learned a little bit about that in previous lessons. But that flat 9 or that natural 9 can be used with these half diminished chords. So the root, the flatted 3rd, the flatted 5th, and then the flatted 7th with either the flatted 9th or the natural 9. So this is a little tricky to finger on the guitar without using my thumb. So here's the one with the flatted ninth, and then here it is with the natural ninth. So sometimes we run into these. Now you could see the C half diminished and then the 9 thrown there, and you have to decide whether you're using the flat 9 or the natural 9. It's not always specified, which is tricky. But you could also actually see where it is specified in parentheses with that flat 9. So as we get into these sounds, I'm also going to mention that a lot of times players will just throw the ninth on even when the chord symbol is just written at the basic 7th level, or the basics level with the 6th thrown on, or even the triad level. You could throw on an add9 just because you want to, even though it might not be specified in the chord symbol. So this especially happens with 7th chords. If you're reading through what we call like a fake book or just a lead sheet chart, everything might be written at the 7th level or at the 6th level, meaning you might see C6 or C minor 7 or C7, but not ever see any ninths written in the chord symbols, but then players will choose to throw them on and just see those chord symbols as a simplified thing. We learn about that more in jazz because that's where we actually see that sort of thing a lot. Now, when we're playing pop and folk and rock and so on, if these colors are desired, they are specified because they're unusual colors. They're not the normal sounds that we throw on as much as we can. That happens in jazz though. But if we're reading chord symbols for pop, folk, country, rock, and so on, they're more unusual, and the chord symbol is going to specify them. Sometimes you have to just kind of interpret what somebody might have meant by what they've written as well, and understanding the different types of chords that exist can help with that, because a lot of times with our online helping one another with songs, the people that will have tried to figure them out by ear and write them will put some sort of interesting chord symbol that might not be one that we might teach, say like at the university where I've taught for so many years. We wouldn't teach it at the university level as an official type of thing, but with chord symbols, nothing's ever completely universal anyway. So sometimes you just have to infer or determine what was really meant by that. So, hope this helps. Ninth chords are awesome. Love the sound. In the next lesson, as I mentioned before, we're going to look at 11th and 13th chords. So we can throw 11ths and 13ths, 2 more upper extensions, onto the different types of chords that we've learned about so far. So super cool. Keep having fun with the guitar. We got jazz lessons coming out on Mondays and Wednesdays, sometimes on Fridays as well. On Saturdays, I've got these improv lessons working in the blues, rock, and pop styles, which is super awesome. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, over 900 lessons actually, on the channel already that have been released. So, lots of great help for you. Keep having fun, take care, and we'll see you again.
If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.